Now we're in the oldest standing building in the entire state of Nevada at the old Las Vegas Mormon Fort State Historic Park. This building doesn't look as old as I'm saying, right, in 1855, but it's gone through a lot of transitions since it was originally built in 1855. The only original portions of this building is the west wall and the end room down there. All of the bricks along my left and back in that room are from 1855, built out of sand and mud, adobe bricks, and they're original to the site. And the reason it looks so different is because, as I mentioned, it's transitioned to many things over the years. Probably the most significant transition, Bureau of Reclamation, came through, and they decided that this would be the site that they would do concrete testing. In fact, this became a science lab or laboratory. So they decided right here, because there was already a foundation of a building, they would repurpose this building into their science lab. When they came, and this was 1929, to decide whether this would be appropriate for a lab, it was really in ruins. It was just a wall standing up and an end room. And they decided that they would use that and repurpose it. So they built a brick wall around the remainder of it that wasn't dilapidated, and used this to test concrete samples to find the perfect ingredients or formula or recipe for building Hoover Dam. Why they decided to do this in Las Vegas and not at the dam, I'm not sure. It could be more that they were administrative and scientists and they were just looking for a building, which was very scarce in that era, and they decided to use this. So you see there's a concrete floor that was poured by the Bureau of Reclamation. They put a ceiling in and made more walls, and they put doors and windows in. So they took what was a wall and a tower at the end and repurposed it into a building. And that makes it the oldest standing structure in Nevada. Now, I think the historic content of it being associated with Hoover Dam is really, really neat. What you're looking at today has been preserved since 1929, and that in itself is historic in my mind. There's also these really neat cylinders as you walk through this building. You'll see them on the floor. Those are actually concrete samples from the testing period that still remain here. I don't know if any of them is the ingredient or recipe they use for the dam, but it's really neat that samples, core samples, are still here in this building.
What was this building used? You went over the core samples and stuff, and obviously it was the fort. Was this used as like a general store or anything like that throughout history? What was...
Yeah, you heard me skip from 1855 to 1929, but in between, it was many, many things. When OD gas came through here, this was once a blacksmith shop. There was sundries in here. Yes, this was a way station where they sold things. So between OD gas and Helen Stewart and the railroad, this was used for many things. But near the end of the era, we'll say like in the 1950s and 60s, it became a dilapidated building. But the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers, I get back to them again, they insisted no matter what condition this building was in, that they preserve it. And they did. And there was actually people living in here at one point, the way that you see it. Can you imagine that? Right now, it's a balmy 80-degree day here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, but it's a little warm in here. We don't have the windows open, but there's no air conditioning. There's a little bit of electricity. You can see light bulbs, which is more modern. That was installed in the 1929-1930 era. And there were people, Daughters of the Utah Pioneers used to have a woman that lived in here just to protect it so that nobody would break in.
When you say way station, does that mean it was like a general store, or were they actually weighing things?
No, that's a great question. When I mean way station, I mean way as on the way from one point to another, rather than W-E-I-G-H, it's W-A-Y. And so, like I said, there was water here, there is water here, and they grew crops. It's amazing. You wouldn't believe over the decades and years that this has been a site There were apples, pears, corn, wheat. You name the fruit. We currently on site have pecans, walnuts, pomegranates, all kinds of things growing, apricots. It's with water, you can do anything, and with water brings people. So it was a stopover traveler site.
Thanks for watching Untitled Interview. If you liked the conversation you just watched, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested, there's lots more just like that right here.